Kranti, let's open today's session. So keep your back and neck straight. Sit comfortably. And very gently close your eyes. Start observing the natural flow of your breath. Don't make any changes to your breathing. Simply observe the breath as this. Now slowly shift your attention to your body. Become aware of your posture. Align your body. And gently come back to your breathing. Slowly begin to deepen your. Deep inhalations, deep exhalations. We will chant Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis to open today's session. So take a deep breath in for Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Join your palms together and begin to rub the palms. Place your palms on your eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at the palms, open your eyes, smile, and Shanti. Let us begin our session for today. So in previous class, we had started the concept of Anapan. And yesterday we sat for about 10 minutes and we did that practice, right? And today we are going to work more deeply on Anapan. So like I said yesterday, Anapan is the pre-practice for Vipassana meditation. So it's like the first step to enter into Vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation was given by Buddha Siddhartha Gautam, right? So in order to uh, reach the stage or practice Vipassana properly, one first needs to establish themselves in the practice of Anapan. All right. So today I'm going to address some common errors, some common difficulties that you might face when you are doing Anapan. Anapan is a very, very pure technique of meditation, and hence it should be practiced with that purity. All right. If you mix anything else with it, the technique loses its purity. Okay. So yesterday I told you that Anapan is a technique where we are watching the breath move in and out in this direction, in this area of the body, this triangular region, right? So now first thing that generally happens when people practice Anapan, they generally join a particular word with the practice. Okay, so word can be any word, but generally speaking, people join inhalation and exhalation along with the inhalation and exhalation that is taking place, right? So when I'm sitting in meditation and I want to observe my breath, breath is very subtle to observe, no? So when I want to observe my breathing, now I've been asked to practice Anapan. So while I'm observing my breathing, I tell myself, oh, it will be easier for me if I just repeat the process that I'm doing in my mind. So suppose the breath is going in, I'm repeating in my mind, inhale. And then the breath is moving out. So I'm repeating in my mind, exhale. Okay. So now what this thing does, right? I told you meditation is the process in which there is one object, right? So when I repeat a particular word, I'm trying to focus on my breathing, my mind, it will not want to work. So it will tell me that, okay, you repeat in your mind, inhale, exhale. When I do this, I'm able to concentrate much more easily on my breathing, but I lose track of my breath because of this word. Okay. Now, hear me out why this is happening. When I say inhale, and my focus goes on this word because word is easier to grasp, right? If I ask you to repeat a word versus if I ask you to just see your breath, you would probably choose repeating a word because word is having better grip on, right? It's easier for the mind to get associated or attached to a word. So you start repeating inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now when you are inhaling, maybe in your mind you are repeating exhale, right? So the entire focus eventually shifts to the word and you lose track of your object. And meditation only has one object. When I simultaneously look at the word and also concentrate on the breathing, I have two objects. One is the word and one is the breath. Okay. So Anapan, that is why I said it's a very pure technique. So don't get mistaken, right? It will be very tempting for you to repeat the name, right? But you have to come back to the normal breathing only without making any changes to it. Okay. So if you were currently repeating any word in your mind, suspend, try to get free from that practice. Okay. Second thing, because you guys are also practicing pranayama, all right? So sometimes there is like if you read up about pranayama also, so there are some ratios, there are some numbers that are given in pranayama. So if I'm inhaling for 5 seconds, I have to exhale for 5 seconds like this. So what do people do when they sit in anapan practice? They start counting how long they're taking to inhale and they start counting how long they're taking to exhale. All right. Okay. So again, if I introduce a count in my mind will get easily attached to the count and I will get easily away from the reality, the object, which is the breath. Okay. Third error, when we do anapan, we like to imagine something. All right. It could begin with the imagination of just the breath flowing in, breath coming out. If you are a believer in certain God, you might imagine that God as you are trying to focus on your breathing. So again, if your target is to achieve concentration, this method will work for you. When you imagine something and you focus on the breathing. But anapan is not this technique. Anapan is free from this. All right. So if I'm focusing on the breath, if I simultaneously have an image, I will not be performing the technique of anapan. I will be doing some other technique altogether. And anapan's only focus is not the concentration. Anapan is a very, very deep practice. It can take out the impurity from the root level. All right. From the root level, the impurity can be taken out. So if you attach any image, again you will struggle. Why? Because mind will get easily concentrated, but you will lose touch with your reality. Okay. You have to watch the breath as it is without making any changes. I'm repeating this again and again because as soon as you sit to practice this technique, these things will start coming up. Okay, so you have to be very careful of the purity. You have to maintain the purity of the technique. All right. So now let's come to the common difficulties that come up. Okay. First thing. So a lot of people, when they sit to practice anapan, they feel that they are not breathing. They feel that their breath has stopped, and they generally freak out and they suspend their practice. They open their eyes, right, and they start breathing deeply. Right. Again, this is not the practice of anapan. Okay. Your breath is going on, but the breath, when you are in a certain state of mind, it becomes very subtle. So as soon as I turn my attention to observe the breathing, the breath becomes subtle. When the breath becomes subtle, it is harder to observe the breath. Hence, a lot of people think the breathing is not going on. The breathing is going on, but the breath is subtle. Right? So what they do, they deepen their breathing, or they freak out, they open their eyes. Right? So through this, what they are doing, they are focusing that I should be able to feel the breath by deepening the breath. Right? But in meditation, we have to do opposite work. We have to sharpen the concentration of the mind so that it can perceive the breath in its subtle form. Not the other way around, that I deepen the breath so that my mind can perceive. Right? Completely opposite work you are doing now. You are trying to deepen, sharpen the concentration of the mind through the knowledge of the breath. All right. So if this thing is happening with you when you are practicing, you think your breathing is not going on, sit for some time, right? And try to sharpen your concentration more so that you can see the breath. All right. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Samya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
No worries, no worries. I was discussing some very important points of Anapan. So you can watch the things I've covered previously in the YouTube video only. I've covered
Of
some
course.
details, right? And now I'm addressing other things. So let's just address these things. These are common things that will show up when you are doing your practice. Okay.
Of course.
Right. Great. So, yeah. So you have to work on sharpening your concentration when you are doing the practice of Anapan, right? So you will not do any kind of breathing exercise or deepening of the breath just because you are unable to feel that the breathing is good, right? You have to do what? You have to sharpen the concentration, right? In meditation, we work on sharpening of concentration, not deepening of breath, so that we are aware of it. All right. So be aware that these two are different things. Pranayama is different. Meditation is completely different from pranayama. Right. Now, common symptoms that show up on the body when you sit for meditation. First and most common thing that will come up is the pain. All right, or maybe some itching or some irritation in some part of the body, right? And as soon as you sit, somehow this pain comes up, this irritation comes up, and when it does, it becomes totally like you just have to scratch that area, or you just have to move your body so that the pain goes, right? So this pain is the generation of the mind. You need to understand this, right? Because as soon as I move my body, or as soon as I move my hand, sometimes it happens the itch is coming, and as soon as I move my hand, somehow it listens, right? It's not that it doesn't seem that urgent anymore that I have to, do the scratching, right? So what is happening? Your mind is constantly generating these unpleasant experiences, because as soon as you move your body, the pain goes away. As soon as you move your hand, right, the pain goes away. Why? Because the mind doesn't want to be controlled. Okay, who likes to be controlled? Nobody likes to be controlled, right? So when you focus on your breathing, through this process of focus on the natural breath, you are somewhere establishing some control on your mind. Now you are giving the mind the direction, now come back to the breathing, right? And the mind doesn't want to work. Okay, so what happens is that the mind targets that thing which is the most uncomfortable for you. So sometimes people have injuries, so first pain that shows up is in the injury area, right? Or if some kind of thought or emotion, right, it's very overwhelming for you, that thing will come up. And as soon as something overwhelming comes up, you cannot sit, you feel like moving the body, right? So your mind is going to come back with equal force, because it doesn't want to be controlled, and you have never given it the habit of getting control. You have always been in the other habit pattern, where wherever the mind is taking you, you are going along with it. If the mind is taking you in a past memory, you relive that, right? You relive that moment. You maybe cry, maybe laugh a lot on that past, right? So mind, because it's the nature of the mind to move in the past or future, right? You used to go along with it, right? But now you are choosing to come back to your breathing, so mind will pick up on the thing which is very triggering for you, right? And that thing will come up. So a lot of students, they come and they say, as soon as I sit to meditate, whatever I'm trying to avoid or not think of, I start thinking of that, right? Why? Because mind is very intelligent. It knows that if it brings up that thing, you will move. And as soon as you move, your breathing moves, right? Okay. So if I move my body, my concentration will go away from the breathing. So it's a tactic of the mind to take you away from your practice. How do you tackle this? With strong determination. For 10 minutes, decide, no matter what happens, I will constantly come back to my breathing, right? There is like, otherwise, all the time you will develop it. But slowly, if you take 10 minutes resolution, you will see that 10 minutes will become easy for you. It will become easy for you to sit for 10 minutes. And then you can work on increasing this time, right? But you need to understand this pain, this irritation in the body, or those overwhelming thoughts are just to break your practice. Okay? All right. Then second thing, which is very common that happens, is the sleep. All right. So when most of us sit in meditation, we fall asleep. And not only do we fall asleep, we have the best sleep of our life, right? In meditation practices, best sleep. right? So many students, they sleep so well in meditation classes, right? And after the session, they are very happy. We got the best sleep of our life, right? Again, very, very big distraction, right? As soon as I fall asleep, one thing, my body will move because we are not lying down, we are sitting. Second thing, as soon as I fall asleep, I lose the knowledge of my object, right? So if I am supposed to focus on my breathing, and because we are living in such a tension, like the environment is so stressful, so tense, just the normal, even normal, if we come to the normal way of breathing, which is like, so this is supposed to be the pattern of your breathing, very subtle in its nature. As soon as we come to that, we get so relaxed that we fall asleep, because for us, being stress free or tension free is associated with sleep, right? As soon as my mind starts getting a little bit relaxed, I fall asleep, right? So this association is there right now very strongly. So as soon as you start focusing on the breath and you feel like peaceful for even 2 minutes, you fall asleep. So you lose the knowledge of the breath, and your practice, your concentration, it gets broken, right? So how do you tackle sleep? So first thing is the resolution. You have to enter your practices with a very strong resolution in mind, right? Because uh, concentration also requires a lot of effort. It's so effortful for me to again and again call my mind back to my object, right? So first thing is strong determination. For 10 minutes, I will not move my body and I will stay awake, right? Second way in which you can tackle sleep is by sitting in a slightly uncomfortable posture. All right, doesn't mean you have to do a headstand only, right? Or go completely, like go for a very uncomfortable position, slightly uncomfortable position for you. Because when there is discomfort, it will be very hard for you to fall asleep, right? So in that case, go for a posture which you find slightly difficult to sit, right? So this will help you to come out of sleep. Then you will be with the pain. And I told you how you have to tackle the pain, right? So you have to come to the observation of the pain. Now, sometimes what happens, two cases happen, right? One thing, the breath is very subtle, right? So I'm not able to feel the breath. And for a long period of time, I'm working, I'm staying in my practice, and I'm still unable to feel my breath, right? So in that case only, you can take two deep breaths so that you get connected to your breathing again, and then you again come back to the natural flow, right? uh, is this point clear, right? Anapan does not ask you to change the breath, but if for a very long period of time your concentration isn't getting deep, right, it isn't getting sharpened, and you are completely lost, you don't know where your breath is, take two deep breaths, and then again come back to the natural flow of breathing and practice anapan. So these two deep breaths, they will help you to form that connection, right? So it's important that you do it at that point of time, otherwise you will keep sitting without any object, right? Then the mind will, wherever mind will take you, you will run over there. Second thing that happens, so I told you to tackle the pain by observing, right? But sometimes the pain is too much, right? So you are completely absorbed in the pain, and there is no way in which you are able to even come to that state where you can shift the focus even slightly on the breath, right? The pain is becoming so heavy on you, right? In that case, you move the body. But the key lies in how you move the body. All right. So generally, when this kind of extreme pain develops, people move their body very quickly. So I will immediately switch my posture, right? When this strong pain develops, don't ever move your body quickly. Move your body very, very slow. Okay. And make the least amount of adjustments you need to make in order to free yourself from that pain. All right. Because when my body will move, my breathing will. right? The breath, the body movement, and the mind are very, very strongly interconnected. Okay. So if there is no way you are feeling, there is no way in which I can come back to my breathing, right? So you will be wasting your time. Okay. So instead, move the body slightly and slowly so that minimum movement in breath comes rather than immediately switching the motion. Okay. Now, sometimes other things also happen. First thing, and like another thing that happens, sometimes you are aware of the breath and you are also aware of one more thing simultaneously, right? So suppose I'm aware of the breath, but I'm also aware that this thought is there, and then I'm engaging with that thought also. Suppose what I have to do for the remaining of the day, this thought comes in when I'm sitting in meditation, but somehow I'm not losing my awareness of the breath as well, right? So two things are existing simultaneously, right? So what you do, you change the ratio. So suppose earlier when I was sitting in meditation, I was aware of both of these things, but my attention was mostly focused on the thought that I was getting, right? And less attention was there on the breathing. So switch this thing. More attention should be on your breath and less attention should be on that thought. Allow that thought to be. I'm not saying suppress that thought. Okay. Sometimes it so happens that both the things are existing. And at that point of time, you have to move towards the direction of your object, towards the breathing in this case. Okay. You have to slowly, maybe 60% of your attention is on the breathing, 40 is on the thoughts. Slowly, you work on this ratio. Now 70% attention is on the breathing and 30% attention is on that thought, right? Slowly, you reduce this gap and you reach to one point where 100% you are with the breath and thought, you are completely disconnected from that. Okay, so you are coming into like the focus attention comes into a meditative state at that point of time when you are fully with the object. All right. One more thing that happens, body moves, right? So sometimes people sit for meditation, they have not fallen asleep, they are trying to concentrate on the breathing also. But what happens suddenly, without their control, their body starts swaying, right? Forward, backward, left, right, whatever movement, right? Again, this means that you still need to work on your asanas. Why? Because the establishment of asana practice ensures stability in the body, right? So by the end of the perfection in asana gives you stability in body. So when this movement is happening means you have to work on asana practice. So attend asana classes, do asana practice as much as possible so that your stability starts getting established when you are sitting for meditation. Okay. One last point I will address, and then I will take if there are any doubts, and then we will go for practice. All right. So one last thing that happens is when we sit for meditative practices, sometimes our session goes very well and sometimes it goes terrible, right? So now, suppose you have been doing meditation for a long time, so you will have a mixture of both these things, right? Some days will be very good, some days will be very bad also, right? So what is the tendency of the mind or training of the mind? It will run towards that experience which was good. So every time you are experiencing pain, you will remember that day or remember or wish for that state to come up where there was no pain, right? So again, this is the reactivity of the mind. It wants to move towards a pleasurable experience and away from a painful experience. But both of them are two sides of the same coin, right? If right now I am very relaxed, then maybe later on in my meditation, pain might show up, right? So what we are actually working on is, getting the mind out of this reactiveness. If I'm hoping for happiness only, right, when I'm sitting in meditation, again, it's a duality. It will lead me to back to the pain, right? When I am in pain, I'm already suffering. But when I'm not in pain, right? Sorry, when I'm not in pain, I am happy. But when I'm in pain, I'm constantly wishing to not be in pain, right? Again and again, I am giving reaction. When I'm happy, again, I'm reacting to that thing. That, oh, today there is no pain. Amazing, right? So when you are doing meditation, you are coming out of this reactivity. Sometimes, your experience will be very gripping. When you sit for meditation, sometimes the obstacle will be very positive and pleasant in its nature. You will see some vision, you will see some color, and your mind will be completely absorbed in that thing, and you wouldn't want to leave it behind, right? But as soon as this happens, look at what is going on. You lose track of your breath. You go away from your practice for a pleasant experience, right? So it's harder to break out of pleasant experience. If there is pain, I will still be able to observe it. But if I'm getting so much happiness from my meditation, I'm seeing so many colors, I'm seeing this vision, that vision, I wouldn't want to come out of it. I would want that to increase, right? So you need to understand whatever disconnects you from your object, it's an obstacle. It could be good or bad. At the end of the day, it is an obstacle only, right? So any of these things happen, you have to come back to your breath. Okay, all right. Any questions, any doubts?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we will sit and practice. Today we have more time, so we're just going to sit and practice. So keep the back and neck straight. Sit comfortably. And when you feel ready, you can gently close your eyes. And for now, just generally become aware of it. Just look at the state of your mind before we begin our practice. Stay connected to the flow of the breath. And very slowly and gently come to your body. Shift the awareness to your posture. See if you want to adjust your body, align your body. Take a few moments. Keeping the body relaxed and stable. And after you choose your position, choose your posture, become strong resolution that you will remain in this position for the remaining of your practice. And now gently come back to your breathing. Focus on the triangular region, your nose, and the area above your lips. And without changing the breath, become aware of the inhalations and exhalations. Observing the breathing process of the body. staying connected to the pure breath. Just like a gatekeeper, if the breath is long, it is long. If it is short, it is short. If it is deep, it is deep. Don't make any changes. Simply observe it as it is. And bring your mind back to the breathing each and every time it wanders. Feel the touch of the breath. Remaining very alert, aware, and vigilant throughout your practice. Again and again, bringing the mind back to the breathing. If you are inhaling, you are simply aware that the inhalation is taking place. When you are exhaling, you are simply aware that you are exhaling. Connect with the touch of the breath in the right and the left nostril. staying with the breath for as long as is possible for you. Not even one breath should enter or exit your system without your awareness. Each and every time your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your breathing. Staying with the breath and observing it like a gatekeeper, constantly alert, constantly vigilant. Stay with the breath, keep coming back to the breath, and now very slowly, if you are able to remain aware of the breath, touch of the breath, then you can slowly start becoming aware of the temperature of the breathing. Don't make any changes, just simply observe that as you take a breath in, cool air touches the nostrils. And as you breathe out, the same air is slightly warmer. If you are unable to stay with your breath, you can just work on the first step of being aware of the touch of the breath. But if you are able to stay with the breath easily, you can move to this next stage where we are observing the temperature of our natural breath. Remain alert and aware throughout the practice. And now very slowly suspend your practice. Suspend the practice of Anapan. Simply observe how you are feeling. Slowly begin to suspend your practice. Start becoming aware of your body. If you feel the need, you can very slowly and gently move your fingers, move your toes. Keep your back and neck straight as we are about to close today's session. We will be chanting Om one time followed by 3 Shantis. So take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just feel the vibrations. Join both your palms together. Gently bow down. And now begin to rub the palms together. Keep them on your eyes. Allow your eyes to absorb the heat. We'll do this 2 more times. So rub the palms together. Keep them on your eyes. One last time. Let's rub the palms together properly. Place the palms on the eyes. Very slowly, you can begin to spread this energy on your entire body, of face, neck, shoulders. And while looking down and blinking, begin to open up the eyes. Any kind of difficulty that you want to discuss, any problem, any issue?
My issues were I was a little bit sleepy, but then when I got sleepy, I was like moving a little bit, and then I got my alert back, and I also got a little bit pain on my right ankle, which is which is stiffer than the left one, and well, sometimes my mind was wandering, but other than that, I didn't sleep again like I did yesterday. So I think I did better today.
Great. Yeah. These are just distractions that mind is generating purposefully. Okay. So slowly, when you start connecting with the breath more and more, you will navigate through them like more easily. Like today, maybe more effort was required, or you're saying than like it was lesser than yesterday, right? So slowly like this, when you maintain the continuity, all of these things, they are going to you will understand how you have to navigate through them. You will be able to work on your practice more and right. So no worries, right now we only practice for 15-20 minutes, so that is also good. If you are able to, for most of the session, you are able to sit properly, right? So tomorrow we will work a little bit more on Anapan, and then we will learn other meditation practices as well. So tomorrow is last day for Anapan practice. So yeah, so I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the remaining of your classes, and bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Soumya.
Bye-bye.